Headline number one, Chris bifocals.
I know.
Instacart is bringing ads to their smart carts that you might have a hard time reading also with those glasses. So just keep that in mind. But according to Fast Company, Instacart will start piloting ads on its Caper carts at Good Foods Holdings, Bristol Farm stores in Southern California. And launch partners include Del Monte Foods, Dreyer's Ice Cream, and General Mills. Quote, you can imagine an experience where you're going through the
This
aisles
is
of
so
the
good.
store. You drop a box of cookies in your cart, and we immediately suggest Dreyer's ice cream to make ice cream sandwiches with your cookies. And even when we tell you which aisle you can find this product in, it'll be even better. End quote. Instacart CEO Fiji Simo told Fast Company, just like that, in that same intonation.
She probably did, actually.
It should also be noted that while that was a beautiful picture that Fiji painted, she also declined to provide how many of these Caper carts are currently deployed, but said that the company expects to have thousands of smart carts in stores by the end of 2024. Chris, how are you feeling about the
Yeah.
ads on the Caper carts?
That last part is important. They're always important at thousands of stores or thousands of carts, the ambiguous number that everyone likes to throw out when they're trying to pump up whatever press release they have. And I mean, quite honestly, I am incredibly conflicted on this announcement.
Yeah, how come?
I'm going to try to relay why. So in some ways, I don't even know where to start. So first, the partner thing is a nothing burger to me because that company they appear to have sold their souls to Instacart. I mean, I'm just gonna put
Bristol
it out there.
Farms.
Yeah, like I
Okay.
mean, they're just all in on Bristol on Instacart. So no surprise that that's who is making this and who Instacart is making this announcement with. If Schnucks were announcing this, that would be a different story to me because they're the biggest retailer that's signed on with them, in my opinion. So, which brings me to my next question, Ann, is why have we heard about this from Schnucks lately? I mean, it's been 3 or 4 months. We haven't really
Well,
heard much about this in terms of its implementation. So I'm curious, and I'm sure our loyal listeners from Schnucks will give us a few text messages explaining exactly
we're gonna
why.
have that.
Yeah,
They're already in our inbox, Chris.
but I think that's a good question. I mean, like, why haven't we seen the smart cart, out in public yet more regularly? So, and then my last point, I get to the ads, but I, I get why a retailer wants to do this, but do you need to test this out in theory, the theory of this with a smart cart? Like, aren't there
I see.
simpler ways to get there, like that approximate the same thing? Like starting with just a TV screen on a cart and seeing if it actually drives purchases. Like, why invest in all the new smart cart hardware? And then you also have the customer acclimation problem to the new cart too, depending on how
Sure.
tricked out you want this experience to be. So that's what I don't like about it. But by the same token, excuse me, not token. It's not the Lord of the Rings, and but by the same token, like knowing what's in my basket and sending a video enticement that correlates to that is pretty cool. So I
Yeah.
kind of get a little inspired by hearing what she had to say. But I'm just so concerned that there's so much involved operationally that that goes into it into order to make the ice cream example happen. Like it sounds good, but I think there's so much when you get down to the real operation of a store for this to come to life as we're initially getting inspired by it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be running towards this yet if I was a grocer.
So let me just understand that
Yeah,
I'm
I
getting what
have
you're
no
putting
idea
down
how
because
I
I
feel
feel like
about this because
you're
I'm very
more
conflicted.
anti-smart cart than you are. So like, but here's my position, I guess.
It's hard though. Yeah, go
If
ahead.
you're
Yeah,
gonna
you
go in
please.
on the smart cart, then
Yeah.
I think this is brilliant. I mean, it's in many cases, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
going to make sure that you're covering that ROI right away because those things are expensive. And if
It's the
you
value of the smart card, quite honestly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that especially with the Schnucks example, I'm going to defend Dave Steck and that team for a little bit because I think that they really haven't given it enough time yet.
No,
You
right.
really
No,
need,
fair enough.
to
Fair
your
enough.
point, you
Yeah, it's
need
been like
customer
4
adoption,
months.
you need to
Yeah.
change the infrastructure of the store. Like
Yeah.
there's so much that goes into this. But I'm going to push back on you a little bit about the fact that this is not already happening. I mean, we talked to 1010 Data's Jonah a long time ago, and we were talking
Jonah
about
Elin, yeah.
Jonah Elin. Yeah, we're talking about like how right now retailers are looking at point of sale data to find this information out.
Yeah.
They see that you bought, Dreyer's ice cream and then you also bought cookies. They have that information. I think it's just now putting it in the point of purchase that really could be beneficial. I mean, you're definitely going to see increased basket size with this. And I think that the data is also richer because it goes back to, again, what we were talking about on an upcoming podcast with Eagle Eye CEO Tim Mason about how now you have that picture in the aisle of what people are picking up, putting in their cart, taking out, or even other members of the family. Like think about kids dropping stuff in the cart, taking stuff out. Like you have
Yeah.
this information now if you've made the investment in the smart card already, which I think that's a separate thing we have to consider, but if you've made the smart card investment, I think this is a good move. And I would much prefer this in a store over a kiosk or in-store billboard, because again, I think that's just random personalization. You're just going based on an opinion of what you think your consumers are going to be doing
Yeah.
based on point of sale data, not like what I've actually physically put in my cart.
Totally agree, which makes me think this is gonna be a hotbed of interest by the tech community and the retail
For
community too,
sure.
because we totally don't even know how to think about this one yet, you know. And but my thing is too is like, couldn't you just geolocate the cart or the consumer's mobile phone and serve up ads that way and try to just put a screen on it without having to create a whole new cart as well? So there's just so many dynamics to think through here. It's cool to see.